was announced a little over an hour ago, has been suspended by the National Football League for the remainder of this 2019 football season. The final 12 games, and even if the Oakland Raiders make the playoffs, he will be suspended there as well. If you see the highlights right there. Indianapolis Colts tight end Jack Doyle catches a pass. Vontaze Burfict launches into him head first, crown of the helmet, doing everything that the NFL has implored its players not to do, spanning several years now. Very, very clear that that's not something you need to do. And Vontaze Burfict did it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no defense for it anymore. I don't have any axe to grind against Vontaze Burfict. I've only met him one time, only spoke to him one time. I had the pleasure of meeting with him. Sound like a really, really smart brother. But guess what? The history doesn't speak intelligence. He's 28 years of age. He's racked up over $4.5 million in career fines and forfeited pay. All right? This fine that he has now incurred is the largest on-field fine in NFL history. There is no way around this. There is no way to justify what we're talking about here. Over the course of his NFL career, he's been penalized 13 different times. From Corona Centennial High School from 2005 to 2009, when he initially was going to go to USC with Matt Barkley, before Matt Barkley came out, called him a dirty player because he was targeting Matt Barkley's knee as a high school player, according to Matt Barkley, who ultimately committed to USC, and Vontaze Burfict went to Arizona State. To him going to Arizona State, shoving a referee, incurring numerous fines, even though he was a freshman defensive player of the year in the Pac-10, it was a problem. Arizona State coach at the time, Dennis Erickson, said, quote, he got carried away. That's how he is, but he's got to control it. I love his intensity. I don't want to slow his intensity down because it's contagious for the rest of the players, for the fans, for everybody involved in the program. But he's got to be smart. And evidently that wasn't good enough. Then he goes to the National Football League with the Cincinnati Bengals. And what are we talking about here? As a rookie, he starts 14 games, led the team in tackles with 127. The Bengals finished number 6 in total defense, but allowed 2.4 more yards per play when Burfict was off the field. Earned a $20 million extension in 2014. But he reverted to his former self, racking up personal fouls and fines that have since come to define his play. And then we know the rest. 13 fines in 7 years. Suspensions over that period of time. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. It's indefensible. I would love to sit here and come to the defense of Vontaze Burfict. I truly would. But literally going after the head of players. What possible sense is that? It doesn't make any sense. You don't know better than that? And then to get suspended yet again after literally launching himself, led by the crown of his helmet, into the head of Jack Doyle, gets ejected from the game, and then departs from the game in Indianapolis, waving, smiling ear to ear, waving at the fans and blowing kisses, knowing a suspension is imminent. Ladies and gentlemen, my personal belief is that his career is over. I'm not saying I wish that for him or anybody else. His career is over. I can't see it any other way. And here's why. The Cincinnati Bengals could not trade him last year. They couldn't give him away for a box of cookies. They ultimately elected to release him in March. When they elected to do that, he was a free agent for one day, and the Oakland Raiders picked him up, led by John Gruden. They pick him up. They brought him on the team. Ladies and gentlemen, he was actually the voice of reason when Antonio Brown got in to Mike Mayock, the GM for the Oakland Raiders, when Antonio Brown got into his face. It was Vontaze Burfict separating him. It was Vontaze Burfict trying to calm him down. But he gets out on the field and he does this. Suspended for the rest of the season. I'd love to sit here and tell you that it's too extreme. But how many warnings do you need? How many warnings is he supposed to receive before he learns the error of his ways? The National Football League, in concert with the Players Association, negotiated all types of rules that would position you to elevate the level of safety that exists in the NFL. That's what they did. That's what they did. They sat up there and they said, you know what? This is what we're trying to do here. This is what we want you to do. We want to avoid those headshots. We don't want to be sued over concussions and CTE costing us billions of dollars potentially. We don't want that. We're going to eradicate that from our game. The Players Association agreed. Practice times involving contact drills, they were limited. Guys spending hours in a weight room and with strength and conditioning coaches now is the way to go as opposed to actual contact or being subjected to contact. Those were all things the players signed off on. And Vontaze Burfict has repeatedly, religiously violated that mandate. I'm not here to get on him. I wish the brother was in the league. I wish he didn't get suspended. I wish he was making his money. The guy that I met and talked to seemed like a relatively nice. Similar offenders, similar violators. They'd have. They absolutely, positively had to take this position. You can slice it any way you want to. Absolutely, positively had to take this position. There is no doubt about it. And because that's the situation that we're in, because that's the situation we find ourselves in, this is what it is. Vontaze Burfict had to be suspended for the rest of the year. I didn't advocate that before it happened, but I damn sure ain't going to argue with it now that it has. It's a damn shame. And people want to point to, well, you know, there must be some kind of issue since he has the inability to control himself. My man Max Kellerman and others will explain it. Well, you know what? The world is filled with a bunch of Oprah-fied people. That's what I like to call them. It's an explanation for everything. And I'm not saying that to denigrate the queen herself, Oprah Winfrey, in any way. I'm just saying that when we talk about a JC, when we talk about Jonathan, people that were introduced, psychologists of the world and others that were just introduced to us over this new generation of millennials. We see, I mean, who would Dr. Phil be if it were not for Oprah? Just think about that for a second. You know, I'm more of a Judge Judy kind of person myself. I'm more of a judge and no nonsense. I want to hear it. And it's not that I literally don't want to hear it. It's that at some point in time, violators of rules and regulations shouldn't always have a damn explanation for every single thing, every single transgression they partake of. Sometimes, damn it, it's about you. Sometimes it's about what you've done. Sometimes it's about consequences because it involves the safety of others. It ain't like you harming yourself. If you really, really think about it, this is what it really comes down to. Vontaze Burfict is most guilty in his NFL career of knocking defenseless people upside the head. Is that accurate, John? I think it is. That's really what it comes down to. It's not like you're in a boxing ring like Errol Spence Jr. against Sean Porter Saturday night, which was a damn good fight, by the way, and you swinging at each other. That's not what happened. Vontaze Burfict is knocking defenseless people upside the head. You catching a pass, you don't see him coming. You concentrating on the ball, and he's targeting your head. This ain't somebody in the octagon or the boxing ring. There's a football field with dudes looking at the ball. Might not have any idea that you're coming. And you're taking your 250-pound body and throwing the full force of your weight into their head. How can we defend that? I would ask my producers here in charge of this television show for the Stephen A. Smith Show, radio show on ESPN News, could you please stop showing that video of Antonio Brown getting knocked upside the head? That's kind of vicious to watch. Vontaze Burfict tried to decapitate him. Enough's enough. Cannot be tolerated. Plain and simple. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. A couple of other things I want to get into.